Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy FRE, dollar sign H Fresh at the Flyboy Way, dash THEFLYBOYWAY. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. And welcome back to another town hall. Before we start this town hall meeting, I gotta say, blessings out to the people of Colombia, especially Western Colombia, Pereira, Cali, Manizales. If you guys haven't heard, early this morning there was a earthquake that was centered around the Choco area of Colombia, and which is the western area, a little bit far from Bogota, a little bit far from Medellin, closer to Cali, closer to Manizales, and it really caused a lot of damage. As of I believe like 2 o'clock, I think there was like over 100 lives lost, 1,500 structural damages in Cali. I've seen so many crazy videos. It's very saddening. So I just want to send my grief out to everybody who lives in Colombia, everybody who lives in Cali, Manizales, Choco, Pereira, especially because that's where the main thing was. And it's going to take some time, but I'm pretty sure everybody can get through one way or another with the help of each other. Um, as you guys know, going to I'm supposed to be going to Cali for Petronio Alvarez Music Festival this Friday. I'll be in Bogota first, and then from Bogota to Cali. However, they're in the process now of possibly either postponing Petronio Alvarez or canceling it. And we're going to get into the town hall topic. I just want to give this announcement because everyone knows, not everyone knows where to go to get the information on the Instagram page, on the news network. So I wanted to announce on my channel that Petronio Alvarez this year, 2026, may be postponed or canceled. They're trying to figure things out now. And I know a lot of people are like, Dag, it's so late, we can't change our trips. There's nothing going to be able to do. There are still a lot of things to do in Cali. Although missing Petronio, if it's extended out past or postponed out past a week, is going to be very heartbreaking, but it may be necessary for a lot of reasons. At the same token, the reason why it's not automatically going to be canceled is because it takes a long time to set up Petronio Alvarez Music Festival. You got people flying in from different countries. A lot of the economy in Cali is helped by Petronio Alvarez, and at the same token, it's very difficult to celebrate when so many lives have been lost, so much damage has been caused to the country. And either way, I'm going to still be going to Cali, but I'm going to try to figure out a day where I can either go help with the physical labor, make a donation somewhere while I'm down there, or do something because again, I love the city of Cali. Cali's treated me good beyond measures, and so I definitely want to just give people the update about what's going on in Cali, what's going on with the Petronio Alvarez. If you want to find out exactly the moment they decide if they're going to postpone it, because they're looking at it now, they're looking at what they're going to do now, or if they're going to cancel it, or what they're going to do. You got to go to the Instagram page, and eventually they'll post something within the next thing, because Petronio is actually supposed to start on the 12th, which is 2 days from now, and it's supposed to extend to about the 18th. So we'll see. Again, I'll keep you guys updated as I do these lives every day. And even when we get to Cali, if there's no Petronio, I will be going live every single day, still taking you around my experience in Cali. I haven't decided whether or not, I'm gonna shout everybody out in a second. I haven't decided out whether or not if they cancel Petronio, I'll stay the whole time in Cali. I don't know that yet. But I'm scheduled to be there from the 15th. Well, I'm scheduled to be in Colombia from the 14th to the 25th now. So we'll see what's going on. I extended it a day just in case they postpone it just to the next weekend, so I can get a couple days to show you guys what's possible. So I extended it to the next day. If they completely cancel it or they push Cali out to beyond August, then what I'll do is I will most likely change my flight back and I'll go to Cali for, a good week. And then after Cali, I'll probably just go back to my place in Barranquilla and stay that the rest of the time. But again, that's here nor there. Let's get back to the town hall. Let me shout everybody out. Shout out to Nick in the building. Shout out to Passport Privilege in the building. Passport Privilege in the building. Shout out to 215 out in Thailand. Shout out to Face Mob. Get it. What up? What up? Salute. J Hova 1381. He said, salute. Are you meeting a crew out in Cali or nah? Originally, my homie Kings and Dreams was supposed to go, but because of this stuff right here, I think Kings and Dreams is simply going to probably stay in Medellin and then go back home. Also, I believe my homie Still Matic is supposed to be going. I'll hit him up and see if he's still going. It being in the likes of them canceling the event. Shout out to Andre and Andrea from Love Crossing Borders. If you don't know them, they had some damage. Everyone is okay. They had their health. They have family members. Everybody's good. Nobody they know passed away per se. But they did incur a lot of damage in their condo that they live in. So hopefully you guys can go check out Love Crossing Borders. Figure out if you want to help them out with something, and any little bit counts. Like it was $1, $2, $10, $50, $100, any little bit counts. So I would say definitely go check out Andre and Andrea from Love Crossing Borders because they've been doing a lot for the community of people who are trying to learn the world, and when they go there, taking care of people. So yeah. All right, so let's get into this town hall, y'all. This occurrence of the earthquake intensifies the need to express that you should tell your story at all costs, because when it's over, it's over. You can never predict when it's your time to move on. And if you don't tell your story, whether it's i.e. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Kick, writing a book, making music, if you don't find a way to tell your story, and then out of nowhere, something like an earthquake hits, something like a sickness hits, something like some kind of violence hits, and your story's never been told, are you okay with living with the fact that you could have inspired so many people with your story? You could have shown a more inclusive view of history with your story. Me, I couldn't do that. There's been a lot of talk recently, because of things that's going on in the travel niche or black travel niche. I don't know what you want to call it. There's been a lot of talk recently about people not filming their life. They say, hey, I know you want to go to Colombia. I know you want to go to Brazil. I know you want to go to Africa. I know you want to go to Thailand. I know you want to go to the Philippines. But why do you feel like you always got to film something? In history meaning the events that occurred before you were born. In history, there's always been a victor. And that victor has always been able to push out their story further than anybody else. Because in old history, they didn't have YouTube. They didn't have TikTok. They didn't have Twitch. They didn't have record players where you could rap on a beat. They didn't have anything that the average person could use to share their story, which is a more inclusive story than the victor. Let me give you an example. I was born in 1984. Growing up, I was under the belief that Christopher Columbus discovered America. I was under the belief that there was no one really living here. And it was weird because even in the story of Christopher Columbus, they mentioned the Native Americans that were here. But if you look at the definition of discovered, it means that there was no one else that knew. As I educated myself more, I found out that not only were there people here and civilizations that live in the United States, or what we call now the United States, before Christopher Columbus got here, but that Christopher Columbus wasn't even the person who got here. It was his assistant seller, America, whatever his name was, America. So as you understand history, you will begin to see, and I'll go down more lines of history, you'll begin to see how the person who was the wealthiest, the victor, the winner of the wars, have always been able to determine what actually occurred in history. YouTube and the availability to show it on camera, on your cell phone, on a drone, on your Osmo Pocket has changed the narrative and changed the opportunity for history to be erased by the victor. Shout out to 916 in the building. Shout out to Smoke Dow in the building. Shout out to Jay Brash in the building. Amerigo, appreciate that. As times change, I feel like if you don't capture something on video, it's going to be pretty much, let's for all intents and purposes, let's say it's going to be pretty much whitewashed away, because the person with the most popularity or the person with the most money can simply say, hey, no matter how true this guy's occurrence says it was, he doesn't have it on video. We can't see it. It never happened. Eventually, for those who know, America started off a place that was based on free labor from people that was enslaved in the United States. Whether you believe they all came from Africa, or whether you believe that a lot of them was already here and were just turned into slaves, that history can possibly eventually be gone because it wasn't on film. It wasn't many pictures taken. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will tell it for you. I feel like a lot of people miss that point as you see these YouTube guys and you see people go overseas. And this is why I never, while it's not my character, I never knock creep cameras. I never knock anybody sneaking to get videos. I say it's not what I do because I don't stand for that, but I don't knock anybody. And the reason why I don't knock anybody is because while all of them are not contributing to what I would consider telling a good history of things, there's a lot of incidents that if it wasn't on camera by people sneaking the photos, a lot of people would just let sweep under the rug. Whether it's the Rodney King, whether it's what's happening with the Mississippi burning, whether it's what happened with the Holocaust, anything that, and I don't just mean video. When I say camera, I mean pictures, images, anything that can be tracked. If it wasn't there, people would deny it happened if they're the victor. It's so easy to rewrite history if it's not accessible online. A lot of people, let's just say in a travel content, they believe that getting the most views, which is easily done by following the program on what is popular right now, or what is trending, or what is catchy, or following the PG-13 content is a cool way to do it. But if you're not 100% real with what you do, what makes you any different from Christopher Columbus? What makes you any different from the people who discovered things that was already there? I can go to Ghana, and I can say, look, no one's ever recording in Ghana, and I can make the flashy video. We spoke about this before. I can make the flashy video with the drones and the best looking women, and I can make the flashy video with showing all this fluff. But I'd rather show the real. I'd rather show what is inclusive of the people. I'd rather talk to the people and say, hey, what's going on right now? And the guy goes, let me I like showing videos when I show you guys, when I talk about it. I'm gonna code up. Share the screen real quick. Let's go to playlist. Let's go to Ghana. Oh, let's not get demonetized. And let's go to becoming one with the people. I like showing what the people are really saying, what the people are really doing. Because if you don't story, stuff like this easily gets swept off the map by the people who have enough money to say, hey, it's not recorded. It never happened. Malcolm X never went to Ghana and talked to Kwame Kunar. He never taught them how we organize in the United States, and now they came up with the Pan-Africanism thing. While it's not something I believe is good for us, I feel as though the interaction between the two was inevitable and needed. If you don't tell your story, who will? Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Town Hall, another episode of Town Hall. And I feel like there's a lot of older people, and I don't want to just put this on older people, but this is the only one I can relate to. I can relate it to at this point. There's a lot of older people who feel like you shouldn't record certain things. You shouldn't record how it is to be when you're overseas with women. And why do you have to show it? All you're doing is you're messing it up. But if I don't show it, the next person that goes can end up in a bad situation because I didn't show them, like, hey, these women or this woman, there's a lot of women who are not really going to tell you the truth. They're going to just try to get the money out of you. They're going to just try to get the funds out of you. And they're going to play on your heart fiddle. And because I showed the video of that, they was able to see it. Had I never told my story of an example, I like showing videos real quick, y'all. Let's go back to the regular video. Let's go back 1 second. Had I not shown my video and told you the story about when I was in Medellin and I saw a robbery, and I explicitly explained exactly what probably caused that robbery, what led to that, wearing a chain, wearing jewelry. If I just say, you know what, why do I gotta put all this on camera? Why do I gotta tell everybody? Why should I even tell my story on camera? If I never did that, there may have been somebody who did the exact same thing that the guy when he was walking down the street, and then he'd be the next one to get robbed. If I didn't tell you the story about me with snacks walking down Medellin and a guy getting robbed right across the street from us by a motorcycle. But who believe that you shouldn't record that. You shouldn't talk about that. You shouldn't have a conversation about that because it's going to mess it up for everybody. But if you don't tell your story, someone will make a story up for you. And get your comment. What's going on, Dark Green? What's going on, Dark Green? Dark Green 1775. Again, y'all, I've been doing this this YouTube, this content creation. I've been creating content since I was 18 years old. I used to believe that I used to be like rap. Before YouTube was big, before video creation, before I could afford a camera to record my life story. And my channel is about my life. It's not just about travel, but travel is a big part of my life. But it's about my life. But before that, I used to do poetry first to get my words off because I felt like I had a message I wanted to get across because I wanted to tell my story. I didn't want somebody to tell my story and be like, yo, he's just another black kid from the hood, didn't have his father, raised his mother. He was in and out of jail. He did this, he did that. Because once you stay quiet, your story becomes whatever the masses agree upon. That's why when a lot of people say, yo, we call you a passport bro. We call you a passport bro. If you never really, and everybody say, well, you shouldn't be mad when somebody calls you a passport bro. You shouldn't be mad, but you should correct them if that's not what you feel as though you are. And the reason why you need to correct them, because if something is said over and over again, it becomes the truth for the masses. Because if you don't tell your story, and if you don't speak up, what's going to happen is you're going to get characterized by everyone else under that thing because there's no resistance. There's no resistance to the status quo. I feel like YouTube is and all these social media sites, while a lot of, if not the majority of people, are not using it to the full capacity of what it can be, these social media sites, they're not using it to the full capacity of what it could be. A lot of us are able to see that we're able to show you a life story that tears apart what history tells you about not just black people, not just different minorities, not just Jewish people, but about anybody who never had a say. Whether it's women in the 60s or 50s, whether it's black people up to now, but up to the 70s, whether it's foreigners today with ICE. YouTube gives you a chance to defy the narrative of history. So to waste a breath or waste your time saying, yo, why y'all feel like y'all gotta record everything when you do stuff? Why you feel like you gotta show every time you go to Cali and you have a great time, even though they say it's the most dangerous place in the world to go, or the dangerous place in Colombia? Why do you feel as though every time you go to Medellin, you gotta show these beautiful women that are, whether it's money or whether it's the fact that you're from the United States, they're attracting to you. They're coming, they're trying to talk to you. Why do you feel as though you always gotta show this? Because if you don't tell your story, somebody will tell it for you. And they're not going to paint you in the picture that you think you were painted in. That's why whenever I go somewhere, and while now I'm live streaming more, and the reason why I'm live streaming more is because I want to take away that barrier of people saying everything is so edited. Everything is so cut and dry. There's a bunch of stuff that didn't happen that he's leaving out. And I want to give you a chance to see that, hey, I could play, whether it's on the Flyboy Way or the Flyboy Way live channel, my live channel. And I'm going to get to y'all comments. Whether it's on the Flyboy Way or the Flyboy Way live channel, I can show you videos of my experience when people go, oh my God, I can't believe that you guys have such a hard time in the United States. You can't get no girls in the United States, so you travel overseas. And then I'll show you the conversations I have just when I'm going to a random place like Dallas, Texas. You got all these people. Oh my God, the women don't approach me. I couldn't get a date for a long time. And back to back, same place, same back channel. Like it doesn't, if you don't tell your story, somebody will tell it for you. And I think as long as I'm able, I will always be creating content. Whether YouTube is still around, whether I move to TikTok, whether I move to Kick, whether I move this, because this is the way that we never had to tell our story, where it's irrefutable evidence or irrefutable videos on what actually occurred. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And they ain't gonna paint you in the light that you think you painted it. So when you hear these people say, yo, when you hear these people say, "Yo, don't All right, I'm back, y'all. I don't know why I had to reset that. Real quick, I had to reset that. It was jammed up. Um, it was buffering, bro. I appreciate that. I definitely checked it. Shout out to Stoneface. Thanks, man. All right, so here's the thing. Dark Green says players trying to keep a spot from blowing up. A lot of people don't understand that. I mean, I'm gonna keep myself watching to make sure it's working. A lot of people don't understand that life is inevitable. But if you don't show your part of life, it's inevitable that somebody else will overwrite whatever you say. So when Dark Green says players are trying to keep a spot from going blowing up, a spot is going to always be blown up. Whether it's a Sasua, and eventually Sasua gets blown up. Whether it's a Medellin, and eventually a Medellin gets blown up. Whether it's a Barranquilla, whether it's a Brazil, spots are always going to get overcrowded over time, because the more things change in the United States, the more things change in Europe, the more things change all over the world, people are going to go to these spots. But do you want to be the person who doesn't show your people, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're French, whether you're Dutch, whether you're Jewish, whatever you are, do you want to be the person who goes there and doesn't show your people what it's like to go as you? And then everybody from around the world goes to that place, blows it up like Thailand, and by the time the brothers start going there, it's too late because you waited 10 years before you started posting videos on what it was like in Thailand? Or you waited 10 years to start posting videos on what it was like in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa? No. It's important that you go and you go and you tell your story, and you tell your story and you show people on video, you show people on camera, whether you're editing videos, whether you're just showing shorts, you're sitting there talking on the couch, doing the couch live. All of that is part of telling your story. It's part of showing an inclusive history. Can you imagine if the people, the Native Americans and the black people who were here in the United States before Christopher Columbus came had a chance to tell their story? Can you imagine the change of history, that maybe all black people wouldn't think they came from Africa on the ships, on the slave ships? Maybe some black people be like, you know what? Maybe there's a chance that there was actually, even if they're from Africa, there was Africans that came here on ships before Christopher Columbus was here. Or there was Haitians that came here from ships before Christopher Columbus was here. Or there was people that walked across from Canada that was black, that walked from the New Peninsula when the ice thing was not hadn't melted yet, and they came across and they walked down here. It was black people then. But we can't change history. We can't change the fact that the victor overwrote history. But what we can change is the future. We can change the future from being overwritten as long as we just put our stories out. As long as we show an inclusive story of the places we go, the things we do. Do you know the change around the world that occurred when black men, my opinion, but based on fact? Do you know the change that occurred around the world when black men started doing hip hop and it got big, and then those black men went overseas and they started showing that they're not poor like the black people in the majority of other places around the world? It changed the mentality of the people who were living there, because history had shown that, hey, in China, if you were dark skinned, you were poor. It was bad. They didn't want they lighten their skin. In the Philippines, same thing. In Russia, same thing. In Africa, the blackest in Africa, the whole Africa, they said was poor. They said they didn't have no news. Imagine history being so one-sided story-wise, that a place that has minerals and things that people use for everything around the world, the most, they use everything around the world, be determined as poor simply because the people are of melanated skin. If history can convince you that you can be sitting on billions of dollars of oil, and that oil has to be passed out to everybody else, you're sitting on multi-trillion dollars of gold, And the history, the Europeans in history was able to convince the people of Africa that you guys are poor. Can you see what we're fighting when we're not posting our videos? When we're not doing, when some people are not doing creep cams, when some people are not telling their full experience because they're worried about they're worried about their channel or their video not getting monetized, not their channel, but their video not getting monetized, or they're worried about people not being able to see. Again, if they could convince a whole continent that you're that's sitting on gold and minerals and stuff that every other continent uses. If history could convince that, all because the people didn't want to have an inclusive story, they didn't want to. So when you see somebody, in my opinion, when you see somebody in Kenya, I can't speak for Ghana because I didn't have that experience in Ghana, and I didn't see that experience in Ghana. They was all with the cameras and stuff. But when you see somebody in Kenya, or you see somebody in Brazil, and they're like, or not even Brazil, or you see somebody in Dominican Republic, and they're like, we don't want everybody with the cameras to show everything. You know why? Because when you show the world, and the world adds its inclusivity to it, it breaks the history of it breaks the one-sidedness of history. It breaks the one-sidedness of history. Every single time when they see, dog, when I go to a club and I'm in, regardless if I'm in Medellin, if I'm in the most paisa or whitest part of Colombia, and I go in the club with my hairline like this, with my hair like this, I got my hat to the back, I got saggy pants on, I got a belt on, and I spend more money than the dressed up white or paisa, the dressed up white guy with that comes from America or comes from Europe. When I spend more money as a black man, do you not know that's the best way to fight history? Rather than saying, "Oh, we want equal rights, we want equality, we want this and this." No, the best way to fight history is to show your inclusiveness on camera. When it changes the mind of, do you know why? My opinion. This is my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. Do you know why I feel as though it's very in Medellin right now? In Medellin, notice I didn't say Colombia. In Medellin right now, a lot of people in certain places don't want black men with money going and doing what they've been doing for the longest, because it's changing the idea of black people to the people who live there. Because they've been told over and over again, black people are poor. Don't hang around the lower class people. If you look in different parts, let's take it off of Colombia. If you look in different parts of Brazil, if you look in different parts of Dominican Republic, the darker skinned people are usually the poor people. So now imagine this being the history that's been taught around the world. And now you have us telling our story, going to a club, spending tons of money, wearing nice clothes that even their wealthy people are not wearing. And now the women are looking like, but that's not what y'all told us in the history books. And the black people in that, and the dark melanated people in that country are like, well, how are they doing that? And they went through slavery in the United States. They went through Jim Crow in the United States. They went through mass incarceration in the United States. They're still going through stuff in the United States, but they got money. They got money. It changes the mindset, and governments don't want that. Governments do not want that. They do not want the history of what the one-sided history of what was when the Europeans conquered China, and they put their own people in play. When the Europeans, and notice I didn't say white, notice I say Europeans, because it's not based on the color, it's based on the nation where it's originated from. Now, us in the United States, yes, we have, as us black people, we have direct issues with a lot of what white history is in the United States. But here I'm talking about the European history, the king, the queen, the king, the royalty. The way they went to different countries, inserted their education systems, inserted their people, to keep this narrative of history going. And through one means of technology, we are changing all that. We're changing all that. Not the way they wanted to change it, but we're changing it by showing an inclusive world. So you got to understand, I said it before, we're going to have a target on our back. If anyone is going to have a target on our back, it's us. Because here's the thing, us black people in the United States aren't the only rich black people. We aren't the only wealthy black people. But the difference is how we fought our oppressors and what became of us because of it, other countries are not doing. The European blacks, my opinion, they're not as aggressive against their oppressor the way we are. The blacks and the dark melanated people in Thailand aren't the same way as us from the United States. The dark people all around the world aren't, they didn't, maybe because in my opinion, there's no right or wrong in my opinion, maybe because they didn't have to go through the extent of violence and pressure that we had to go through in the United States. It changed us into a whole different breed of people. So when we go places, we are obnoxiously confident in ourselves. We're obnoxiously, you'll go see if you see, just watch me. If you ever, I've met a couple of them. If you ever meet a wealthy black British person, usually they're from the Caribbean or some part of Africa, but through generations lived in Britain, they are more, I don't want to say controlled. They are more relaxed. They're more going along with the program. They're more calm. They may still have the fight in them. They just do it in a more calm and relaxing way. But for us, black people from the United States, if we gonna, somebody said it before, we're gonna knock on the door, please let us in, and nobody answers. Then we're gonna make a song, please let us in, and then eventually, boom, we kicking in the door. We doing all this stuff. That's just our personality. Every single one of us, because of what we went through in history. That's why sometimes I understand the FBA thing. I don't really align with everything they do, but I understand the separation aspect of it because our culture created us to be this way because of what we went through. Culture defines a person more than the place they were born. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Culture, meaning what you eat, what your family went through, what your grandmother went through, what your great grandmother went through. My grandmother is my mother, my grandpa. I'm only 2 generations away from segregation. Now I'm 42. My grandmother's still alive. She's 76. She was in a segregated school. So for me, it's understanding what your ancestors went through, which makes me want to tell my story every day I do something. No matter what I do. If I go to no matter what consequences it comes with, everybody be like, oh my God, but what if you get kicked out? What if they don't let you back in no more? My story's already been told. Or what if this country says you got to pay more? Okay, well then I'll do it. I'll figure out a way. I know a bunch of places I could do. But one thing I told before I won't do is I won't stop telling my story. And I won't not encourage other people, regardless if I don't agree with what you're doing. Regardless of what I don't agree with you creep camming. Whether I don't agree with you sneaking the camera into places. If you're willing to deal with the consequences, that's on you. But I'm going to defend your right to do it because it is something, if we don't do it, history just whitewashes everything again, man. I'm gonna get y'all comments, man. It was buffering for a minute, but we getting on the road, y'all. Let me see. Jehovah says, damn Colombian Wi-Fi fly boy. No, I'm in the United States right now. He said, and spots wouldn't blow up if dudes don't try to expose things for clicks and views. Again, I'm not knocking anybody's reason to do anything. And I will defend anybody's right to film and do it, even if it's illegal in another country. If you're willing to deal with the consequences, I defend your right. I won't never knock you for doing it. I will defend your right, but I won't never knock you for doing it because I understand history. And a lot of people don't. I understand that. Imagine if the world knew how bad slavery was in the United States. If the world knew how bad segregation was in the United States. If the world knew how bad Black Americans were treated in the United States, we would have been quote unquote freed a long time ago. People don't understand the only reason why we got freed wasn't because we fought back only. No, we got freed because the rest of the world realized and looked through videos, through news, through all this stuff, what we were going through. And by that time, the rest of the world say, all right now, y'all got to ease up on it. Because if it wasn't for the media, we still be tied in chains, y'all. I don't know if you guys know this, because again, I do research. I do history research. If it wasn't for the media in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 50s, in the 80s, if it wasn't for the media, we still be in chains, owning no property. I wouldn't own $1 million worth of real estate. I wouldn't have been able to travel to Colombia in the middle of the year. I wouldn't be able to travel to Brazil. I wouldn't be able to travel to England. I wouldn't be able to go see the Stonehenge. I wouldn't be able to go to Eiffel Tower and touch the Eiffel Tower. I'm not doing none of that if we didn't have media. So if we want a better future for our children and our children's children, we can't knock people that's showing videos. We can't not, and regardless if I don't respect your character, regardless if I don't believe in what you do, I will respect your right to show your life, to tell your story. And I'll fight for you. I'll fight for people's right to tell their story. Now, you're going to have to deal with the consequences that come with it. But if your purpose is to tell your story, those consequences don't matter. Because rest in peace to all the people who passed away in Cali for this earthquake. We never know when things is going to be over. We were all just getting prepared to go to Petronio, to have fun, to do all this stuff. Everyone excited. They got people coming from Africa. They got people coming from Haiti. They got people coming from all different parts of Colombia, Brazil, going to this one event where they can communicate and they can exchange information and show the world through media. And at the drop of a dime, boom, earthquake comes and ravishes the whole section that's supposed to be part of going. It could have happened anywhere else in Colombia. It could have happened anywhere else in the world. But it happened right in a section around the Pacific coast where people were getting ready to come tell their story on the media. I'm never going to tell her, regardless if I don't believe in doing it myself because I have a different character. I'm never going to tell her, no offense, I'm never going to tell her KBS to stop recording. I met KBS a good person. I'm never going to tell him to stop recording because every video he puts out, regardless if it's just a beautiful woman, he's not saying nothing. There's some 18, 19, 20, 40, 50-year-old that is seeing hope for the first time in their life. They're seeing hope for the first time in their life. They might be a millionaire, and they never knew that they can just go here and get a lifestyle they want. And they're looking around and they're stuck because they're older now. They're not in shape. Nobody really wants them the way they want them. And they can't just give money because if they give money to the women in the United States, they treat them like ish anyway. And now they see a KBS video. And they're like, I wonder, what happens if I go to this place where all these women are here? And then they go to the place. And then the women overcharge him because he didn't watch The Black Man's Guide. But he still gets the experience that he never had in his life. Or they go and watch somebody in the Philippines. Or they go and they watch somebody in Thailand. I can never knock somebody for showing life when there's so many people. Oh, wait a minute. Do you guys not recognize how many creators are that were not from the United States that were created because they watched people in the United States? I was watching a video the other day, and I was watching Wodemeyer. Not Wodemeyer, right? Wodemeyer is an African creator. And he was talking to Passport Heavy. Now, Passport Heavy is Nigerian, but Passport Heavy grew up in Chicago. Wodemeyer said, the number one traveling YouTuber who has over 1 million subscribers in Africa, said, I never thought about doing this until I seen a brother from Chicago do this. And he is the reason why I am now I got 1 million followers and I've traveled all over Africa because I watched a brother from Chicago, Passport Heavy, do this. Jabril. So if you don't see what we're doing here in the States, because we're taking that risk and showing this stuff, it's changing the world. So for us from the States to know this and still want to knock somebody because we feel like they are ruining a place, I think that's selfish. I think that's detrimental to the people who come behind us. But again, everyone has their own opinion. Let's see. HD chilling. What up? He said, you talking straight facts. Terrence Hill says, excellent content. I appreciate that, Terrence Hill. Words of weapon. What up? What's good? Smoke Dowell. A big part of those people's self-identity is just being above black. Same as America. The issue about that is that I don't know. Oh my goodness. It depends it depends how you look at it. Because I feel like a lot of people don't see themselves above black that are maybe from Africa. In my experience, in my opinion, I don't feel as though a lot of people feel as though they're above black. I feel as though they just don't understand how these people are allowed to do something, and I'm not. Because they haven't studied everything we did to get to where we're at. All they see is what we're able to do. My opinion. And I didn't have this experience in Ghana. It's a little different for me. My daughter is Ghanaian. My best female friend, her mother is Ghanaian. I've known the family 19 years. So, like, for me, it's a little bit different. Shout out to Riley Joe, what up? Shout out to TDNYC. Shout out to Milano, what up? For me, it's different. But let me play devil's advocate somewhat. Shout out to Stoneface. I go to Kenya, right? Flyboy Way goes to Kenya. Somebody who looks like me sees me spending money crazy with their women. This person doesn't know what I had to do to become a millionaire. They didn't know my grandmother went to a segregated school. Her mother was a slave. They didn't know about my mother having my mother had to deal with segregation somewhat. They didn't know about the struggles that my culture had to go to just to get me to the level where I can go to school and find a good school to go to, because even the schools in the hood are not good schools. Be able to go to a school, be able to survive gangbanging, be able to survive getting shot at, getting stabbed when like 10% of people in North New Jersey during the crack epidemic that didn't make it to 25, 10% of the men didn't make it to 25. They didn't. The person in Kenya who's right now at the moment jealous of what I'm doing or envious, not jealous, but envious of how I'm spending money, how I'm treating the women, how I'm doing all this stuff, because they don't know this history of everything I had to go through to get there. They're not seeing this. So all they're seeing is he looked like me, but I can't do that. And let's take it out of Kenya, South Africa. Let's take it out of South Africa, Brazil. He's doing that. Dominican Republic, Colombia. How is he doing that? Because just like we weren't taught about the world in the United States, they was not taught about the history of the United States, because we didn't have the opportunity to tell our story. Until the media came out, we didn't have an opportunity to tell our story. But once the media came out and we could go we could sit on the back of the bus and they could record us sitting on the back of the bus and the world could see them yelling at us and spitting on our women and doing all that stuff. The world could see that and be like, what the hell? What the hell? We didn't even know this had happened. If I take it off of being black, dog, if the Jewish Holocaust had never had those pictures, none of the change that would have happened. Regardless of how you feel about any person religion, if they didn't have the pictures of what was happening, they would have swept that under the rug. Media is the thing that changes reality. So to tell anyone that they should not record, to tell anyone that they should not show their lifestyle, I can never imagine doing. Because there's no way I'm sitting in this chair talking to you guys with 107,000 subscribers, a million view video a 30 million, almost 30 million views short, 3 cars outside, and one house owned to, used to live on the water in Miami Beach for 3 years, owned it for 5 years, as a black man who grew up without a father, mother loving mother, but was in the, this dog. There's no way, bro. There's no way. Media is the main thing that made this possible. So for me to knock somebody, that's doing that, even if I don't respect the person, even if I don't agree with the person's character, I know history, and there's no way I'm ever going to knock somebody. As long as you cool with dealing with the repercussions that come, I'm never going to knock somebody for creep camera. I'm never going to knock somebody for filming women. I'm never going to knock somebody for enjoying life on camera and sharing it with the world, because our next generation, the generation after us, they may need that. They definitely gonna need that, because opportunities, if you haven't seen, are closing. Opportunities are closing. I was just watching a video about India, and India has been around longer than the United States, but in India, for every 1.8 million people that apply to work for the government, 23,000 of them get hired. 23,000 out of 1.8 million. And if United States ever gets more crowded, I can see that happening here also. Whether it's by immigration, whether it's by population growth, the difference between the United States and the reason why we have so much space to become this wealthy, to leave generational wealth, is because we are young. The United States is only like 3. Give me a second, y'all. Let me a second. How old is the United States? The United States is only 250 years old. And I think I just got a message about Petronio. It's canceled. Petronio Alvarez just got canceled, y'all. We'll get to that at the end. By Santiago de Cali, they just canceled Petronio Alvarez. So we're gonna try to move some things around, y'all. We'll figure that out after this live, because we don't want to lose the topic. Again, and I'm gonna get. Caesar says the Africans are jealous of you. It's not necessarily a jealousy thing, because jealousy means that, I feel like jealousy is more like, and I should look at the definition, but in my perspective, I feel like jealousy is you're doing something I can't do, versus not understanding why I can do something, why I'm able to do something that you can't do. I feel like it's a difference there, and that's why I feel like the jealousy is not jealousy. It's just more of an envious. I think envious and jealousy is different. Jealousy is, I could do what you're going to do, but I'm not doing it, so I'm upset. Envious is, I don't understand how you did it, and now I'm mad because I can't get to where you at because I don't know how to do it. So I don't feel like a lot of, and it's not, I don't feel like a lot of the other melanated people around the world, let's just say black for now, are jealous of United States blacks. I feel as though they are envious because their education systems did not teach them what black people in the United States went through to get to where we're at. If they knew that we started off without rights and had to work for free and had to do it under extreme circumstances, whips, rape, separation of family. If they knew that we had to go through all of that in order to get to where we're at now, where I can go to Kenya or go to Ghana and I can get a top model who's a model in the Ghana thing, and she can come with me all these different places and show me around, maybe they will understand more. Because if you don't understand and you can't have empathy because you don't understand, it can just turn into envious. And again, it's not a right or wrong. I'm just speaking on history. So again, that's why I keep telling people it's so important to tell your story. Because if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And they're not going to paint you in the same light. They ain't going to say, yo, this black man from America made it through all this. This black woman from America made it through all this. Segregation, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, bad schools, slavery. They made it through all this, and they through all that they pushed through, and they became this wealthy person. Now you know what they're gonna say? Yo, you came over here and used your U.S. dollar to get our women to do stuff that we can't get them to do. You came over here and used your U.S. dollar to live in a condo or live in a building and buy up houses that we can't do. They're not gonna know that, yo. It was a point in the United States where we went through redlining, where we couldn't even buy a house or buy a house in a good area, and we had to go to a bad section where bad things happening. And as Malcolm X said, when you live in a bad area and you go to bad schools, then the people that's in the bad schools become bad people, and the bad people do bad things in a bad area. It's just so much stuff that they don't know because they wasn't taught. They wasn't educated. Us black people in the United States had the privilege to be able to learn about the world living in America after school. We had the privilege to be able to go somewhere and learn that, yo, it's like this in Colombia. It's like this in Brazil. It's like this in Europe. We had the privilege because we broke our chains. I still think we in slavery for some parts, but we broke our chains, and we was allowed because of media, because of people showing videos. We was allowed, and because of people saying this is not right in South Africa, because of people in Europe saying this is not right in Europe, we was able to break those chains. And when we broke those chains, our minds got free. A lot of us, some of us are still slaves in the mind, but a lot of our minds got free. And the ones whose minds got free, we went on a knowledge tour to find out everything we could do, so we never go back to chains, so we never go back to whips. And when that happened, ta-da, the point we're at now, where black people are traveling around the world changing the narrative. So I can never get upset at somebody who's creep camming. I can never get upset at somebody who's showing everything, even if it's not accepted, showing everything they do. Everything, all how they meet the women, what they do, whether they pay or they don't pay, whether they go for love bombing or they don't. I can never get upset at anybody that's showing the future generations that there is a way. Because I can't wait to see what happens when more people tell their story. When more people tell their story. When more of us tell our story. And the world becomes so more inclusive and not one-sided like history. We hit the hour mark, y'all. I'm gonna shout you guys out because I really got to start planning this Cali thing because again, I just got the information that they canceled a movie. No, they rescheduled the festival. Hold on, let me read this real quick because I want to get it right for the people that's listening. Hold on a second. Excellent decision to reschedule the Petronio Alvarez Festival. There can be no celebration of our culture while our people are homeless, destitute, and under rubble. I believe that's true. I believe that's the right thing. Cali must reschedule, and those who have come from Colombia Pacifico to contribute to the festival must do so as well. Our music is our resilience. I think that's a great. I just want to know when it's rescheduled to because I need to have that information. It's suspended. You should cancel your flight and Airbnb reservation. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to do that. We'll see. Because I'm going somewhere. And I don't really know if I want to go to. Let me see. Let me read what it says. Hold up. August 10th, the mayor's office of Santiago de Cali expresses deep solidarity with all the people after the magnitude in light of this foreign measures prioritizing the safety above digital manifestation. Decided to suspend the 30th edition of Petronio Alvarez Music Festival, an event scheduled between 12th and the 17th. The development, artistic and cultural activities, although all right, so yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta figure it out right now, y'all, because I'm going somewhere. I gotta figure it out. Yeah, they canceled. Just again, y'all, they canceled it because of the earthquakes, y'all, and I believe that was the right decision. I really believe that was the right decision. So I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do, y'all. But I appreciate everybody that came in the chat. Caesar, Yoga, Stoneface, TD NYC. I see you. Where's Milano Smoke? Machiavelli Don. What up? What up? What up? What do they do with the money from last year's festival? I'm not sure. I don't know what they're gonna do, but we're gonna figure everything out. I gotta go check it out now, y'all, because man, I'm supposed to be leaving Friday, and I just changed my flight to stay longer today, so I might be able to do some things different. I appreciate everybody for joining the live. Again, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and they're not gonna paint you in the light that you think you were painted in. So whether you're creep camming, whether you're doing journalism, whether you're doing videos the way I do them, you're doing drones, you're doing interviews, you're rapping your story, you're singing your story, you're doing rock and roll your story. However you determine to tell your story because like tomorrow's not promised. And on top of that, if you don't tell your story, somebody will tell it for you, and they won't paint you in the light you think you are. It's your boy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's TheFlyBoyway. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. I'm in solidarity with the people of Cali and the people of Colombia. I hope things work out with everything. We're gonna figure out what we're gonna do. We're gonna definitely donate to some kind of cause for this thing. Maybe, even if it's just $100, we're gonna donate to some kind of cause, and we're gonna figure it out, y'all. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.